Hey guys, welcome back to another string video. So in the last video we talked a bit about some of the stuff we could do with strings, substringing them and some of the properties of strings and whatnot. And we talked about concatenation a little bit. And one of the things I wanted to go over a little bit more with respect to concatenation is why this plus operator is legal as well as the concat method. And the reason this operator is legal, and another functionality of this is you don't have to just add strings to strings. In Python, when you tried to concat to a string, everything had to be a string, right? I couldn't concat an int to a string or a float to a string. But in Java, you can. And what I mean by that is, let's say I have this int x variable, right? And it's equal to 5. What I could do here is I could say plus x, and what that's going to do is Java is going to implicitly treat that x as a string and just add it onto the string here. So in the end, what we're going to get is hello plus the comma world here, right? Hello remaining string, and it's going to go ahead and just add on that 5 and treat it like a string and just add it right to it. So when I run this, what we're going to get is hello world 5, because that's the value of that x that we added on. And it does that implicitly. We don't have to worry about that really. We don't have to just do it there. We could do it right here inside of the system out print line. We could say plus x, and it's going to treat this whole statement as a string. And it plugs it in as one argument to the system out print line, so that when we run that, we still get hello world 5. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit just so that we knew what was going on. So another thing we could do with strings, a couple other things I wanted to go over, was indexing a string. Not indexing as in grabbing the character at that index, but what the index of a character or a string is inside of that string. And what I mean by that is, I could plug in, so I know that this string variable here, hello, I know that that's equal to this, right? Hello, so we set it equal to that, right? So what I could do is I could access this string and pull what index this is, because it's here, inside of this string. So it's, the indexes are integers, right? So let me show you what I mean. So we'll say string index, did that backwards, is equal to, so we're going to call greeting, and we're going to say index of, and there's quite a few index of methods here. We're going to plug in a string because we want to get the index that this string exists inside of this variable, which is a string. So we're going to say index of, and we're going to pass in hello, because hello holds the value of this right here. So it's going to be legal because it exists in the string. We literally pulled it from there. So when I print out the string index here, it's going to print out where in this string, what index of this string inside of this big string here that this exists, because hello is equal to that. So it should return 0 because, yeah. So the index that it exists at is 0 because hello is the 0th item inside of this string. The whole thing is hello, so it's being treated at index 0 because it starts at index 0. If I wanted to know where the string of world was, I just plug that in, or the rest of it. So we'll say remaining string. And then it's going to tell us where that string starts at, basically, what index that this whole string here starts at. So when I run that, it's going to give me 5. Yes, 5. Because that's where, because remaining, right here, remaining string is equal to this, so it's telling me where this starts at, where the index of remaining string is inside of this string. So that's one really cool thing we could do with that. We could do last index of, so instead of doing remaining string, let me show you what I mean. So if I did last index of, and instead of using a variable, I used a string literal, and I passed in a comma, and let's say hello world, I am awesome. It's going to give me the last index that this is encountered inside of this string. So when I print that out, it's going to give me where the index of that comma right here is, because it's the last comma it encounters, which happens to be index 12. So basically, it looks backwards on the string, and the first time it encounters something, it returns that. So this will be ignored. Whereas index of tells you the first time it's encountered, so it goes from forward, right? Now, another thing I want to talk about is splitting a string up. So without getting too much into arrays, because I really am going to talk about that a lot in my collections video when I talk about arrays and a couple other collections data types. We're going to talk about it a little bit. So what we could do is take this string here and split it up into an array of strings. and we could split it up at a certain, we could split it up by character. So what I could do is I can create a new string array object here and say string array, my string array is equal to greeting dot, we're going to call what's called the split method. And what we pass in is where we want to split this up into. So what it's going to do basically is when we call this, it's going to create an empty array. It's going to split the string up wherever we by whatever we pass in, so whatever string or character, we're going to pass in a character in this case, whatever we pass in, it's going to split it up there, and they're all going to be separate elements inside of this array. So when I call split and I pass in this comma, what it's going to do is it's going to go through this string, the string value of greetings. It's a string variable holding this, right? So it's going to go through this, and everywhere it sees a comma, it's going to split it up and add whatever was there into an array, and then it's going to return us that array without what it's splitting by. So these commas will be ignored. So if I say system out println my string array, and we access it by index, just like we do in Python. So at index 0, it's going to return to me the first element in that array, which is going to be hello. Because it encounters, so it goes through, it encounters whatever we plug in, which in this case was the comma, right? And it says, all right, comma's encountered. This is where we're splitting it up, and we add whatever was before that into the array. So hello is the first item, which means this space world will be the second. This space I am, and then from here on will be the third. And we could look at all that by let me just show you all that real quick. No, that's not going to work. So ignore what I'm about to do. I don't want to get into loops in this video, but I'm going to use one real quick just so I can loop through everything and show you what I'm talking about. So we're going to say for n I equals 0 less than my string array dot length, and then I plus plus, and then we're going to system out println my string array at index I. So ignore this loop. I'm not trying to teach you about it right now, but I want to show you that everything inside of that string is split up at the character, at the comma. So this is element 0, this is element 1, this is element 2 inside of the string array, right? So that's pretty cool. Another thing we could do is, rather than splitting up into string arrays, what we could do is split it up into a character array. So what I could do is say character array, or let's just say chars equals greeting dot to character array. And because basically, not even basically, what a string really is an abstracted character array. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a character array, and each individual character inside of the string is going to be an element in that character array in order from where it's encountered. So H would be index 0, E would be index 1. So let me show you. I'm going to run that. Let's see, 2 character array, and it's because we did my string array dot length. It's got to be characters dot length, because my string array dot length is 3. Not that I'm trying to get too much into detail about that, but I just want to show you. So what that's going to do, as you can see, is it's a character array. Hello. So this is index 0 of the array, index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The space is a character as well. So that's what that does with strings. So we can split strings up into characters or character arrays as well. It's 8 minutes. Cool. I got a little bit more time. So another thing we can do with strings is we could check the if a string is equal to another string. Basically, we're going to compare 2 strings, I guess is the way I want to put that. So let's delete this. Let's just create 2 new strings. So we'll say string 1 is equal to hello, and string 2 is equal to hello with lowercase, right? Made a scrub mistake there. All right. So what I can do is say, I could say, let's just system.out.println, and I could say, you know, does string 1 equal to string 2? And how do I do that? We say string 1 dot equals, and then we pass in string 2. What that's going to do is it's going to return to us if string 1 is equal to string 2. So when it prints, it should return false. See that? Because string 1's not equal to string 2. This one's lowercase, this one's uppercase. Case matters. Now what if we didn't want case to matter, right? string 2. Now what we do is we'd say string 1 dot equals ignore case. And then we pass this one directly takes in another string. It's going to take in another string, and it's going to ignore the case of both strings and compare them. So in this case, it's true. So like I could do some wonky stuff here where I have like E, and then this one's like an L, capital L, and then compare them using dot equals ignore case. It's going to ignore the case and just return true. So that's really, really, really cool. One more thing I want to go over is, let's say I have this hello right here, right? Let's say I have, like 6 frickin' spaces, and it's just wonky thing. I don't know why I do that, but let's say I have that, right? So let's go ahead and in system.out.println the length of string 2. String 2 dot length. We're going to go ahead and print that out. And what we're going to see is it's 17 characters long, right? So that's including the spaces. Now what I can do is say string 2 equal to string 2 dot trim. And what trim does is it removes all leading and all following white spaces inside of the string. So now when I print that out, what's going to return is 5, because hello is 5 characters long. So basically what that does is it takes this and just turns it into that. So that's another really cool thing you can do with strings. We're at 11 minutes. There's a couple other methods you could do. You could check if a string contains something. So, I could do, string 2 is hello. I could say system.out.println string 2 dot contains h, or even he. It doesn't have to be 1 character long, and it'll return if it contains it or not, which in this case it does, because hello starts with he, right? You could do, string 2 dot starts with, and pass it in. You could do anything crazy, anything like that. So yeah, it's just some of the stuff you do with strings. I'm at 12 minutes, so I gotta cut this video out. But you could use, especially like contains, equals, ignore case, you use those in conditional statements. If, string y dot contains x, if it starts with, whatever. Those are really common things you could do, very common applicable things you could do with equals, ignore case, contains, starts with, especially like starts with and contains. But so yeah, that's basically our introduction to strings. I'll post a bunch of source code about everything you do in strings and all the Python equivalent, because I didn't go over too much of the Python equivalent in this video. So I'll post all the Python equivalent code for the comparisons between the two, so that you can see what's going on and you can see for yourselves what is what. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.